for individuals carrying out public functions, and this is found in the Act. And there's power given to investigate, to write reports, to lay those reports in Parliament, and also to send them to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And I would also think the Commissioner of Police, since some of the actions will be at the Magistrates Court level. And then, of course, by the implementation of penalties against the individuals. So next. So then we look at the persons who are covered. So if you can see, it includes members of the House of Assembly, as you would expect. It needs to be bigger. Sorry. Members of the House of Assembly, permanent secretaries, chairpersons of state-owned enterprises, magistrates, members of the, members of the commission, but non-senior members of the commission. So those persons file with the Integrity Commission, and then the persons who file with the President's panel are the judges of the Supreme Court, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Auditor General, and members of the Commission. So as you can see, in terms of the persons covered, it not only includes politicians, it also includes other public officials of a high grade, if you use that term. So it seeks to cover as many people as possible who are in senior decision-making positions within the public sector. So next slide. So in terms of the actual declarations, there are exceptions to these. If a specified person is a trustee, and this would mean that somebody established a trust. So for example, if you have a minor child, for example, and the minor child has lost its parents, they might have agreed, say in a will, that if they died, they would appoint John Brown to be a trustee. So John Brown then takes legal possession of the assets of the child. So they can ensure that, you know, suppose they left the house in trust. John Brown will be responsible for the upkeep of the house, make sure taxes are paid. Maybe he would decide to let the child reside with him and his wife, and rent out the house so that the child could have an income, things like that. So you're the trustee. That's what a trustee is. So basically they're saying that if one of these specified persons is actually a trustee, they wouldn't have to disclose those assets because really they belong to a child. What they will have to do is declare that the trust exists and file the trust document with the commission or with the president's panel. Then now there's this blind trust that can be set up. So all of these individuals can set up a blind trust. Now what a blind trust means is that a public functionary, including politicians, can take some of their assets, any percentage, and put them in a trust, a blind trust. The idea of using a blind trust is that when you put them in a blind trust, you're supposed to separate yourself from the assets. You're not to manage them, you're not to earn income from them. They sit in the blind trust for the period of time that you are in office. What you then have to do is to file the trust document, and you have to describe the assets. They say describe the assets and the amount. I'm not sure what amount means because it didn't actually say value, it says amount. So That's the blind trust. And as I said, you would then file the trust instrument. So you then have to ask yourself about these exceptions that have been put in place. Next slide, please. That's the next one, or you skip two? That's the next one? Yeah, sorry. Okay. So then there are the appointees to the Integrity Commission, and who appoints them? Can you make that any bigger? Okay. Okay. So the chairman must be a former judge appointed by the president after consultation with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition. Now you will recall, if you have looked at other pieces of legislation, you would see that this is it's like a standard form how you appoint people to various positions. But I think we should ask ourselves, if these are the very people who are making declarations and who ultimately will be investigated, is this really the best way to appoint the commission? Yes, it's by the president, but we know what consultation with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition actually means in fact. So that is something we have to consider. And then you have a lawyer of 10 years call in consultation with the Bar Association, an accountant of 7 years standing after consultation with the Chartered Accountants Body, and then 4, a member of the clergy. And can you scoot across? What's after 4? Right, clergy. Then you have another person here who was appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister, and then another one on the advice of the leader of the opposition. So I think that we should ask ourselves, is this formula going to really work? The people who you want to investigate are the ones comprising the commission. Well, except the clergy, the accountant. No, the clergy is to be.
The collection.
Sorry?
No, the clergy them is carry the collection goes on.
Right, that one is with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition as well. So it's only the accountant and the lawyer that you do in consultation with some non-political person. So yeah, what do we think of that configuration? It is typical, but is it appropriate in these circumstances where these are the same people who you might find yourself in a position where you wish to investigate them? Okay, so we'll go on to the next slide. So then, as I said, there are these penalties. Now, the highest penalty is $100,000. Okay, thanks. The highest penalty is $100,000 on the face of it. So these are indictable offenses, which means you're going to high court. And so it is 100,000 and/or imprisonment for 2 years in both cases. And this has to do with a person who gives information to an unauthorized person. That should be unauthorized, not authorized. A person on the commission who gives information to an unauthorized person, and a person who makes a false or malicious allegation. So you would see here that the highest penalties are for people talking to other people. Now ask yourself, public functionaries are actually in the legislation. They have a duty to report things if they see them, right? But then if they make a mistake and people say, you know, but you know how it is. You sometimes you do something and you do it innocently and people accuse you of all kinds of things. So if you're in a situation like that, you notice something is going wrong, you go home, you talk to your spouse, and they say, well, I was watching Marcia Reach Show and I see I had to lock you up for 2 years, you better keep your mouth shut. Basically, that's what people are going to say, because really the most serious penalties are for these people who might bring information, who might say this is what it looks like to me. And then if for some reason no other information is found for whatever reason, they might then turn around and bring a charge against you. So the penalties for filing a false declaration or registrable interest, these penalties are smaller, it's like $50,000. But I would add also that in connection with this, there's also a penalty of being required not to hold office for a period of 10 years, which is 2 terms. So, but this is if you're found guilty. And I see, so like if you don't file within the 90 days, you can get an extension. The thing, you know, so people who don't know how to do these things would tell people, you don't put yourself in a position where you fail to file, but you can file and it could be incomplete. So then that would be a different matter. So you ask for the extension and then you file, but then it could be incomplete. I mean, at the time you might be saying that you're a blind trust or whatever it is, so you might ask for an extension. So the next slide, please. Okay, so the other penalties, there are penalties of $10,000 with respect to the commission. If you fail to appear, if you willfully insult a commissioner, if you fail to comply with a judicial disclosure order. So those are like kind of administrative matters that if you fail to comply, there's a penalty for that, obviously. I don't know, willfully insulting a commissioner, some people might argue that that shouldn't be in there because, you know, there's some people who feel that we should move away from getting being charged if you curse a policeman or that kind of thing. I don't know, but that is in there, willfully insulting a commissioner. I'm not sure what that is going to mean. Then there are other penalties. The gift penalty, this depends on the value of the gift. So the fine here is 3 times the value of the gift. The funny thing is that if the gift is found to be an illegal gift, the gift is supposed to be sent to the Ministry of Finance. I don't know why. I don't know what they're going to do with it. You know, like it's kind of odd. I don't know why you would send the gift to the Ministry of Finance. Or maybe it's going to go to BRA because they do auctions.
For the people there to smoke it.
So if you fail to declare a property interest, you could find yourself before a magistrate, and the penalty there will be $3,000 per day if you fail to disclose the property interest. But I don't know how that is going to happen, because if the people know that you have the property, but then you might as well disclose it. I don't know why you wouldn't, and be faced with a penalty of $3,000 a day. If you fail to file your declarations, etc., there can be published in the official gazette. You should note too that complaints must be brought within 5 years, which is interesting. You should think about that. If you find that the person has engaged in these certain activities, the complaint must be brought within 5 years. So think about that in terms of a 5-year term in Parliament. Right. So I have the penalty. So then there's a provision too which talks about prohibited interest. So it is prohibited that you have an interest in a contract. But then there's an exception to that, in that if the contract is examined and it is felt that it isn't in conflict with the code of conduct, or it is not in conflict really with the act, you would not necessarily be penalized for having this prohibited interest in a contract. So then this would be something that is, open to question, open to argument, etc. When really I was thinking that, it was a really strong provision in terms of the prohibited interest. The next slide. Okay, that's the next one. Okay, so then I just thought I would raise some issues which civil society should look at, that the people should pay attention to. The first thing is the adequate funding of the Integrity Commission and the President's panel. So one of the things that you would have to be doing is looking at the estimates of revenue and expenditure to see what expenditure is being allocated to this Integrity Commission. And you really have to, if it isn't funded properly, it is going to be just like the Office of the Ombudsman, which it really isn't effective because it really doesn't have the power to do anything. It doesn't have the personnel, it doesn't have the money, it doesn't have the legislation to back it, nothing. So one has to be careful that you have a commission sitting there, but no complaints are brought because people are afraid that they get locked up for 2 years. And then even in terms of if they wish to carry out investigations, are they going to be funded with investigators, or are they going to be asked to use the police officers to do it? If so, the police officers are all already complaining that they have a great burden already. So then if it is to run properly, there are individuals who play a critical role: the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Commissioner of Police, the Auditor General. Are these institutions going to get additional resources? They would have to, if they're going to be asked to take on this additional role with the Integrity Commission. Then I think we have to look to see what extent there is still control by politicians in terms of the appointment, which I pointed out, that politicians are actually appointing the individuals who are meant to investigate them. And also the remuneration of the integrity of the commissioners, that lies with the Minister of Finance, as opposed to when you look at the provision which talks about how the commission is to be funded generally, it says that those funds are to be voted from Parliament. So there's a distinction between the two. Now, I think in terms of the commission, we also have to be concerned about whether or not it's going to be used for witch hunts, and whether it's really going to be hijacked by politicians to pursue opponents. Now, civil society has to make sure that that doesn't happen. What we would want is for individuals to be pursued, yes, if they're guilty of certain offenses, or if we believe that there might be, they should be investigated. But certainly, we shouldn't allow it to be used for witch hunts. In terms of transparency, we should note that the sessions of the Integrity Commission are to be held in private. They're not going to be public sessions. When you are put before the courts for criminal offenses, all of that is done in open court. But these sessions are not going to be in open court. And we should also pay attention to whether the blind trusts are going to be abused or not. My last point has to do with exchange of information. It's a big thing. It's a big thing probably for like 0.00001% of the population in Barbados, but it's a big thing for me. Under this bill, we are going to be able to exchange information internationally. This is a whole other area about what Barbados has agreed to because of pressure from outside. So basically what we're doing, I think we gotta look at everything together. We're consolidating all of our information digitally. We have this, I forgive me anybody who doesn't agree with me, but I believe it is silly to try to put all your information on one card. It's a joke. What happens if you lose the one card? Suppose that thing is wiped out. You know that you don't exist. You go to your bank tomorrow and they will say, "Oh yeah, Miss Jones, yeah, I know you. Where's your card?" Oh, somebody thief it. Oh well, yeah, I know you, but the system don't know you, so you can't get your money, can't get your campaign, your NIS, you can't do anything at all. So I don't know if go back to Mother Nature. You see, within Mother Nature, there's diversity. Diversity perpetuates the planet. It is a mistake to try to pursue sameness. We're strong because we're different. So don't put all your information on one card, just like how they told you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So that's what's happening with exchange of information. All of our institutions are being given this power to exchange information, sometimes automatic exchange of information with authorities abroad, and we should be concerned about that. So those are just some issues that I thought I would raise, and I'm looking forward to hearing what others think about the legislation. But basically, we as citizens, we would want it to work. We would want to dampen down on corruption, and I guess what we have to ensure that is not just a waste of our money.
Look, this legislation is not designed to work. It never was. It was just to give you a panacea, make you feel that you're getting something. It's like a placebo, make you think you're getting medicine, you're getting none. Let me tell you about this legislation, how it started. Under this administration, with this administration. Because if you go back, every administration that I know of, because I grew up, the Tom Adams, it was the first time I know about any politics, Tom Adams, and then come down. Everybody, every prime minister, probably except Louis St. John, promised integrity legislation, but they never managed to get it on the book somehow. Franklyn Stewart was the only person that managed to get an integrity of public life bill before the House and passed. Mind you, it was not proclaimed. When these people take over the office, they found an integrity of public life bill. They said, "Oh, it has a lot of problems, so we are going to do our own. We're going to do it within 100 days." The 100 days, so far they had 100 days that make up 5 years. Now, you remember when these people were in opposition, they were saying, "Oh, we're going to declare assets." And when they came into office, they said, "Oh, they declare the assets and they give the note to the cabinet secretary." And what not required? but they were fooling people. This bill was all about holding politicians who everybody in Barbados accused of stealing. From the Joy Edwards days and everything, every government, some politician was accused of stealing. So this was to catch the politicians and show the people that the politicians were honest. Now these people come in here and dilute it and try to put it on everybody so that you would not get even time to investigate the what you're going to do. Let me do something. This bill has included civil servant, head of the department, permanent secretary of the department. So a principal of a secondary school has to declare his assets. The chief archivist has to declare her assets or his assets, yes, baby. What the chief archivist going to do? Thief an old book? No. This is to cloud you with a lot of foolishness. But at the same time, the politicians invent it into our law a blind trust because we never had blind trust in Barbados before. So they want to hide their assets. Now let me show you something. Let's say that you own a construction company or you got major shares in a construction company, the build roads. You come into office and you put those things in the blind trust. You in cabinet approving contracts without one know it is you. So if you want public office, declare assets or don't come. That's what the legislation should be telling you. No, but the politicians have this blind trust. It is designed to trick people and make them believe that they have integrity. No, there's no such thing.
They too said their cabinet colleagues wouldn't even know either. They wouldn't
know either. So you can't hide people's assets, their shares and stuff, and put them in a blind trust and say you're not managing them. I can get a trustee that I trust to manage my estate for me, and then when they come up there, he can get somebody, can get everybody, can get some. So this is nonsense. The blind trust is nonsense. But let me show you. The public officers now have two pieces of legislation to regulate their conduct. And the Public Service Act is more stringent, except for the fees, the fines. It's more stringent than this Integrity and Public Life Bill. Let us spoke something about whistleblower kind of thing. You don't call it whistleblower, but that's what it basically is. You are required by paragraph 11(2) of the Code of Conduct and Ethics to report any evidence or that you suspect one of your colleagues of doing any criminal activity or any criminal or unlawful activity. You are required by law, or you can lose your job. Now, under this legislation, if you report it and it ain't true, you can get locked up. So you know, you're between a catch and two position. If I hash my mouth, I lost my job, lost my pension, lost everything. If I speak up, but my suspicions came to naught, because my suspicion might have been reasonable, based on what I'm looking from, it might be reasonable. So you can get locked up for that. You can even be dismissed from your job in the public service to show how stringent the public service rules are. If you lie to a minister, if you knowingly mislead the minister, parliament, a permanent secretary, or even the public, you can be dismissed. These provisions are here. Right now, the people don't enforce them because ministers is everybody, tell us everybody else, and not kind of these days. But so you have rules that you refuse to enforce, and then come and put another set on top of them. You're gonna refuse to enforce them too. 7(2), the same code, you can't do not appropriate or use public funds contrary to this act or any other law. This act means the Public Service Act. So if you use public funds contrary to any legislation in Barbados, you got problems, and then they can send it before the court. So it creates an offense here, the way you can be dismissed, and then also where you can go to jail. I know you have another one where they can do the same to you, but the politicians got one. They had none before. Civil servants had a very stringent piece of legislation, and They come in and impose another one on top of them. I was wondering now which one the public servants can be bound by. I ain't hear that yet. I ain't heard about discuss that yet. And now you know, getting to work late too often, you can be dismissed from public service. If you absent without permission, you can be dismissed from public service. If you don't dress soberly, you can be dismissed from public service.